My name is Zainab Ismail and we have a lot lined up for you this morning. Now, between 3,000 and 13,000 Kenyans lose their lives in road traffic crashes every single year. Now, Kenya joined the rest of the world to mark the 5th UN Global Road Safety Week, which runs from the 6th to the 12th of May as part of the drive to reverse one of the leading causes of death in the world. Now, the National Transport and Safety Authority, in its road safety status, shows that pedestrians are the highest contributors to road accidents in the country. They also lead in the list of fatalities. The leading cause of road crashes in Kenya is human error at 99.1%. This is what we'll be discussing today morning, and we have our reporters on the ground from different counties. We'll also be speaking to residents on road carnage in the country and what they feel can be done to reduce the number of those who die daily on the roads. Bridget Singana is in Nakuru County, Bernardo Juang is in Migori County. We also have Zacchaeus Mwasame in Bungoma, Ouko Kusa is also in Kisumu. But before that, before we delve into this conversation, we'll also be taking a look at other stories making headlines across the country and also be linking up with our other reporters from the various areas and the covering and stories that we are following up for you. And we have our Silas Apollo, who is at a Nairobi hotel where Luhya leaders are currently meeting for what they call as a Luhya unit. We'll also be joining later on Seth Olale, who is currently at the Kilimani Law Courts, and he is following up the cases involving Migori Governor Koth Obado, as well as the case involving former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero. But before that, let's just cross over live to Silas Apollo for that Luhya unity meeting that is currently happening at a Nairobi hotel. A very good morning to you, Silas. What do we expect from this particular meeting? Who does it involve, really?
Yes, Zainab, just as we have said it, this is the Luhya unity meeting. Of course, the elusive Luhya unity that leaders have been talking about time and time again. If you remember, it's been quite an issue, contentious one. The Luhya community has not been able to come united during the consecutive elections, the previous elections, and even in terms of spearheading the agenda of the community. The meeting today, we expect a number of things to come up. I remember Luhya community, they have around 49 MPs, about 5 governors and senators, and even women representatives. We're not quite sure if all the MPs are going to attend, because previously, of course, there's been a lot of divisions in terms of the unity of the Luhya MPs. Of course, those are linked to the opposition, and also those who have been linked to the ruling Jubilee coalition. There's been quite a number of division. The expectations today is that all the 49 MPs would probably attend the meeting and, of course, decide on the agenda of the community. One of the contentions issues has been, besides the unity, there's been the issue of the economic growth of the region, and one of them is the sugar economy, which over the years has faced a number of challenges. Remember, Luhya community, and I mean Western Kenya, has been the bedrock of the sugar industry in Kenya. Quite a number of industries so far have not been able to do well. A number of them have closed down. A number of them, of course, have also been declaring losses in the past. So we expect those issues to come up. The most important one is in terms of spearheading the unity going forward. There's been quite a number of meetings that have been held in terms of bringing the community together. Most of it has not been as successful. You remember the last one was by Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli, who just prior to the 2017 general election, of course, tried to unite the community together. There was a survey that was done in terms of finding the spokesperson of the community, who was named as Musalia Mudavadi. That picked up pretty well, but in terms of how that has been able to bring the community together has not been very possible. There's been a lot of tension between leaders and a lot of suspicion. Right now, there's also a lot of suspicion. You remember Boda Luale going head to head with Francis Atwoli in terms of the progressive politics of the community. A number of leaders also have been split alongside, of course, the Kilimani team, that is against the Deputy President's 2022 presidential bid, and also the Tanga team, which is linked to the Deputy President William Ruto. So there's been a lot of issues in terms of the unity of the community. The leaders today expect to discuss some of these issues and find a way forward in terms of how then do we spearhead our development together as a community. The division has not really been there in terms of the governorship. The governors have been quite united in terms of the unity. Of course, you remember the governors are part of the Lake Region Economic Bloc, which brings together governors from Western Kenya, Nyanza, and a bit of Rift Valley Province. So there's been a lot of cohesiveness in terms of that. But when it comes to the number of MPs have been at loggerheads with each other. So we expect that to come up. A number of leaders are expected to hear today. There are a lot of discussion that will be coming up. But most important one, the most important outcomes we expect is in terms of how then do they forge their political agenda going forward as a community? How do they put aside their differences and ensure that they come together as a community? And also in terms of economic welfare of the region, which has been it has been said to be having an economic potential, but that potential has not been realized over and over time again. So we expect those issues to come up. We expect the leaders to be here today, and we'll be updating you going forward on some of the outcomes of the meetings, what it is that they're going to say, what are going to be the resolutions. Are all the leaders going to be here today, or they're still going to be split alongside their political lines? But the conveners of the meeting have urged all leaders to come together, irrespective of their political alienation, irrespective of their political inclination, that they should come together for the sake of the community. So we'll be updating in our subsequent bulletins what is it that they say, what are the resolutions that have come up, who are the leaders who were present, who are the leaders who did not come, what are some of the reasons and some of the reasons given for non-attendance and for attendance. So we'll be updating you going forward. Back to you, Zainab.
All right, Silas, there, of course, we'll be looking forward to that particular report later on in our subsequent bulletins. But before that, let's either take a look at other stories making headlines. And investigations reveal that 7-month-old baby Ethan Mwendo, who died at the Shalom Community Hospital in Machakos, was injected with an overdose of morphine. Investigators from the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board revealed that a patient attendant, not even qualified nurse, administered morphine 20 times the dose recommended for his tender age. Gladys Gashanja now reports that the hospital has been closed indefinitely.
For baby Ethan Mwendo's parents, the horror began with a minor accident at home. He suffered a mild scald from hot water from the dispenser he was playing with. But the journey to the Shalom Hospital for answers marked the beginning of a new grim journey of grief. 2 hours after baby Ethan was given an injection to calm him down, he breathed his last. The search for answers led the family and investigators from the Kenya Practitioners and Dentists Board to the hospital, where they spent about 2 hours in closed-door meetings.
I have members of County Assembly.
When they emerged, the truth about what they found was shocking.
It was thought necessary that the child should be given medication to prevent or reduce the pain that may come with the dressing. Now, that said, medication was prescribed, and it's called morphine. So according to the proprietary prescription, that should require 1 milligram. So when the child received 20 milligrams, it ties up with what happened, because the child went drowsy, went home sleepy, was brought back a while later, still very sleepy, but in that process of time, the child was lost.
2 staff members from the hospital have been arrested in connection with the incident and have recorded statements with the police.
We are calling for the arrests of the following individuals to be charged with various crimes, which may include manslaughter, the doctor in charge of this Shalom Hospital, the hospital administrator of this hospital, the patient attendant who actually undertook that injection, the clinical officer who prescribed medicine that he should not have prescribed, the pharmacist in charge who should have known better, and the directors and proprietors of this hospital.
We're placing charges against them. We're going to court, and I'm assuring everybody it will never happen again. I'll push till justice is reached for me and for other people.
And therefore, I'm ordering for the closure of this hospital. We are giving the hospital until 6 p.m. this evening to clear with the patients who are under treatment currently, but the hospital should not undertake any new patients.
mnaacha mama anaangusha mtoto chini wakati mnakunywa chai.
This incident comes barely a month after a woman delivered a baby on the floor at Shalom Hospital's Athi River branch as the nurses were reportedly on a tea break. A conclusive report on the investigations into that incident is expected this Friday.
With the outpatients expected to get their service by 6 p.m. before the hospital is closed down, those that are getting attended to as inpatients are expected to be transferred to the level 5 hospital of this county and in Kathiani, where they will get free medical service. Gladys Gatanja, NTV.
We're also reporting on a fresh flare-up of violence along the Kenya-Ethiopia border. 11 people were killed yesterday afternoon in a Forole area. Those killed were pastoralists who were grazing their cows some 200 kilometers from Marsabit town. Sources say they were surrounded by nearly 100 people who were believed to have crossed into the country from Ethiopia and who executed them one by one. Police were still recovering the bodies yesterday evening. And 4 suspects caught on video brutally assaulting a man identified as Kelvin Mango in Nairobi's Kilimani estate were charged with causing grievous bodily harm. The 4 were arrested following public outrage over the incident that is said to have gone on for about 6 hours. Seth Olale reports that the men who assaulted Mango have been described as arrogant and flashy.
Police have linked this man captured on camera viciously attacking Kelvin Mango Oduor to Nairobi politician Robert Omwenga Momani. Momani, who contested for the Makadara parliamentary seat on a Jubilee ticket, is also the first accused person, together with his co-accused Collins Neriko, Stanley Rimbere and Stephen Kimeu. The 4 were charged, jointly with others not before court, with causing grievous harm to Kelvin Mango Oduor on the night of May 1st at Estate 24 on Kirichwa Road in Kilimani, Nairobi. They all denied the charges and were released on a 300,000 shillings cash bail each. The second accused person in the case, Collins Orina Neriko, who is suspected to be the youthful man seen in the video in dreadlocks, denied a separate count of damaging Mango's mobile phone valued at 160,000. While little is still known about the third accused, Stephen Kimeu, the 4th accused, Stanley Rimbere Kithia, is said to be the tenant of the house where the night torture took place. A 5th suspect who was before a Kibera court on Monday on a different charge will take plea on Tuesday. Neighbors who only agreed to speak to us off the record for fear of reprisals said the group frequents the estate to party in flashy cars with no registration number plates. They often play loud music, but neighbors say they won't dare report them for causing disturbance. They are also said to possess houses in Nairobi's posh estates of Karen and Kileleshwa. A source informed NTV that Robert Omwenga Momani was spotted arriving with Kelvin Mango Oduor at Stanley Rimere Kithia's residence along Kirichwa Road in Kilimani. Thereafter, his assailants pounced on him, brutally beating him up for more than 6 hours. He only managed to escape at dawn. The case will be heard on June 13th. The exact place where the incident happened last week along Kiricho Road remains a crime scene, even as investigators not ruling out possibility of the suspects involved belonging to a wider group. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
And 2 decomposing bodies of students from the Kenya Methodist University and Chuka University were found in a hostel a few meters from Kemu University. Residents living around there say they were drawn by a foul smell emanating from one of the rooms in the hostel. Upon investigating, they found the lifeless bodies of a man and a woman in a room. Both were 21 years old and are said to have been lovers. All right.
Instead of pointing fingers to each other, as a society, we need to find out the root causes of some of these things that are happening when young people kill each other and kill themselves.
Well, 3 people died and 23 others are nursing injuries in hospital after 3 vehicles collided along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway. This accident adds to the dispiriting statistics on road carnage that has continued to claim lives. Anita Nkonge has more details.
The light of day only uncovered the horror of the early morning incident. Police left to pick up the pieces of yet another gruesome scene. An accident along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway that this time took 3 lives and left 23 others nursing injuries at various hospitals. The early morning smash-up involved 2 matatus and a pickup truck, bringing home yet again the impression of too little too late and the jarring statistics on road carnage. In a chilling report by the National Transport and Safety Authority, 3,153 people died in the country's roads in 2018. This represents an 8% increase from the numbers in 2017, which NTSA puts at 2,919. The report also found that pedestrians accounted for the highest number of deaths. 1,204 people died in 2018, a 13.6% increase from 2017's 1,060. In the same year, 836 motorcyclists died compared to 2017's 715 deaths. Most of those who died were hit-and-run victims, with private motor vehicles accounting for most of these deaths, followed by motorcycles and public service vehicles. Sunday proved to be the most dangerous day to be on the road last year, followed by Monday, Friday and Tuesday. The National Police Service is encouraging the public to give out information to security officers that could improve road safety.
This is something that is preventable. All what we need is to change our behavior. So we don't need a lot. If we all made a resolve today, all the citizens of this country made a resolve today that we shall drive safely, we shall be mindful of all road users, this problem will come to an end.
The police will start a major country-wide crackdown on those who do not have complied. Once the notice is given by NTSA expires.
Anita Nkonge, NTV.
And that report there by Anita Nkonge forms the basis of our discussion this morning. Remember, I told you we have our reporters in different counties who will be speaking to the residents of those respective counties to give an idea on what they feel should be done to help, in terms of decreasing the number of road fatalities that we are seeing. And that number is increasing. And in studio this morning, I am joined by Francis Meja, the Director General of the National Transport and Safety Authority. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Nicholas Lusasi, who is the National Welfare Coordinator of the Boda Association. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for joining us this morning. And Meja, let's begin with those grim statistics, quite startling they are and very harrowing we can see. Where's the problem?
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting us this morning. Indeed, this is a problem, not just for Kenya, but in the entire globe. This week we are marking the UN Week on Road Safety, where the UN has decided that there is need to continuously educate the members of the public on the challenge of road safety. However, when you look at the global level, this problem is more significant or is worse in developing countries such as ours. If you look at Europe, for instance, they have a far much bigger motor vehicle population than the developing countries. But their state of road safety is much better than ourselves. We have a big problem. But to me, the biggest challenge is our behavior. That is where the biggest problem is.
It falls down to the culture that we have.
We have a bad culture.
All right.
The way we use our roads is bad. We ignore basic issues, wearing of our safety belts, which can save lives. You find, and thank God Nicholas is here, you find riders who do not observe basic traffic rules, Those are the challenges that are attributing to all the deaths that you are seeing. Yes.
All right, and Nicholas, I would say, and the statistics actually show that bodas are also a biggest contributor to road carnage in the country. What do you think is the problem from your perspective?
Kwanza kabisa nashukuru kunipa nafasi hii. Jambo ambalo ningesema bodaboda riders kwa wingi wamekuwa wakilaumiwa kwa sababu ya road carnage and road accidents ambazo zimekuwa zikitokea. But as per now mimi naweza sema ukiangalia statistics ambazo ziko hata kulingana na NTSA wenyewe, I think nyingi saizi haziko saidia bodaboda. Kwa sababu bodaboda unajua walikuwa ni watu ambao hawakuwa wakielewa sheria mara ya kwanza. Na naweza sema tangu sheria za barabara zianzishwe na bodaboda ziletwe katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, hakukuwa na rules and regulations ambazo zilikuwa zinafuatwa. Hao watu walikuwa wanaingia tu, mtu akitoka kwa baiskeli tayari ni mtu anajua kuendesha pikipiki na anafanya tu kazi bila kufuata sheria. Lakini kwa saa hizi I want to believe that vitu zimechange kiasi, na hata zile accidents mingi zinatokea hazikui cost na hao riders ama bodaboda ambao wanasemekana wanakosa accidents mingi. Kwa saa hizi zipo, lakini percentage at least iko chini.
Mr. Major, has that actually decreased in terms of the...
Not true. If you look actually at the highest increase year in, if you compare 2017 and 2018, boda is the highest growth in terms of the fatalities that we are seeing on the road. So we still have a big problem, a very big problem. And if we do not manage this problem at this stage, then we will never be able to deal with it. It's high time really we stop blaming each other and agree and accept that there is a problem and we must resolve it.
All right.
The number of deaths and injuries from this particular sector is so much. And it's happening because of lack of obeying basic traffic rules. A motorcycle is defined in the Traffic Act, just like a motor vehicle. It's actually a motor vehicle. If it comes to observing of traffic rules, it's supposed to follow the same rules a vehicle follows. But what we see with our riders, you find even basic things like wearing protective gear to enhance visibility, issues like helmet to their passengers and the riders themselves. There is adequate law, even as we speak right now. But it is disregard to these laws that is contributing to that increase.
All right, and we'll come back to probably even forwarding and helping in terms of implementation of this particular regulations.
Yes.
We have our Bernardo Juang, who is in Migori County. Bernardo, very good morning to you. He's also speaking to residents of Migori on the same conversation that we're having here in studio. Bernard?
Well, thank you very much. It is the month that the government promised to do a serious crackdown on boda operators, traffic rule offenders. And of course, this comes after their leaders and also political leaders intervened, asking the body concerned at least to give them more time so that the youth involved in boda riding be empowered fully with the knowledge of road safety. Initially, we've been seeing cases whereby most of boda operators have been losing their lives together with their passengers, and something that also the government saw it wise that those people who are not qualified to be on the road should be flushed out on the road. And what's going on here today, it is something that has been going for a while since last week. Over 600 youth have been trained through the courtesy of the area MP Paul. They are being trained. Some of them have been given driving licenses. And to start with, I'll just be speaking to some of the people who are being trained here today. Just tell us what has been the problem that has led to high number of deaths caused by boda operators.
Asante sana bwana presenter. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Eric Otieno na mimi mkaaji wa hapa Rongo. Umeuliza ile shida yenye ilikuwa inafanya ajali mingi natokelezea kitambo, hatukuwa hatujui mambo ya sheria barabara. Na tangu tuanze hii mafundisho ya kuingia hapa yenye ililetwa na mheshimiwa Paul, sasa hii tuko na at least idea knowledge kwa barabara, na kwanza tunawacha nishukuru mheshimiwa Paul wetu kwa kutuletea hii program juu wengi wetu hatukuwa na license na hatukuwa na ujuzi ya vile tunaweza tumia barabara.
Nini ilikuwa inachangia ajali barabarani?
Ajali ilikuwa inachangia kwa barabara juu hatukujua sheria ya barabara, na ya pili tulikuwa tunafanya kazi na uoga juu ukifanya kazi kwa barabara pengine unaogopa unaweza kukutana na maskari, alafu hiyo ndio ilikuwa inafanya sisi wote tunaleta ajali hiyo.
I'll speak to another person here. Join me. Okay, you are here, you are being trained here today. What has been the problem? You've been blamed each and every time that you are the main cause of road accidents here in the country.
Asante sana. Mimi ni Uhuru Samuel Arende. Nashukuru sana kwa kuwa ajali yalikuwa yanatokea kupitia kwa kutojua hali ya barabara. Hiyo ni jambo la kwanza. Jambo la pili, tulikuwa tuelewi tunaendesha nini na hicho chenye tunatumia kinaweza kusababisha nini. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa inatoa ajali mingi sana. Haswa kwa hii program ya Mheshimiwa Paul Bor, tunamshukuru sana kwa kuwa ametuendeleza. Sasa tuna ujuzi, tunajua hali ya kuendesha barabarani, tunajua signs zote za barabara na tunaelewa kile tunafanya kwa wakati huu.
Tangu muje hapa kufunzwa, mmeweza kufundisha nini?
Tumefundishwa hali ya uendeshaji in general, kwa tunajua sheria za barabara na sheria za uendeshaji. Na magari ama pikipiki yenye tunatumia, sheria ni moja ukifika kwa barabara. Kwa hivyo dereva inakuwa ni dereva. Sio kwamba tuna watu wa bodaboda ama tuna watu wa gari. Ukiwa dereva una ujuzi wa kutosha kuendesha, manake unajua kila hali na namna barabara ilivyo.
Asante sana. Wewe unaona kwamba ni nini kifanywa sana inaweza tatua shida barabarani miongoni mwa bodaboda?
Asante sana, mimi ni Owino. Yale yote ambayo serikali yakishughulikia sana inaweza changia kupunguza ajali barabarani ni kwamba training ambayo tunafanya hapa yafaa fanywe kila pande ya nchi, ili kila mtu ambaye anatumia bodaboda, wale ambao wanaendesha bodaboda wapate kujua ya kwamba kuna sheria ambayo inatakikana ifuatwe barabarani.
Nini ilikuwa inachangia?
Okay, sana ulikuwa unapata ya kwamba kitambo kijana anajifunza kuendesha pikipiki siku moja 2 3 hivi, alafu keshoe ako kwa barabara. Unajua abiria juu ya kwamba huyu mwenye anampeleka na pikipiki ameendesha kwa kipindi cha muda gani. Sasa kitu kama hizo ndio ilikuwa inachangia ajali mingi sana ya barabara.
Asante sana. Nitazungumza na wa mwisho hapa. Umeweza sikiza kutoka kwa mwenzako, anasema kwamba songa hapa karibu. Anasema kwamba nyinyi mlikuwa mnaenda kujifunza siku moja 2 3 hapo uko sawa. Kwa sasa umefika hapa, umeweza kujifundisha nini?
Okay, thank you. We've been here all along, but we've been taught so many things concerning road signs. For example, the way you can see them, they are there. We know what they mean. When you go to the road there, we practice whatever we've been taught. I would like to encourage some of the citizens from this region to entail this type of education within this region so that we can know more concerning road signs and safety on the roads.
Well, thank you. I'll speak to their instructor here. Just tell us how many people are they targeting, and so far how many people have received driving license. Kwa sasa hebu tueleze tangu mwanze mmeweza kufunza watu wangapi?
Kwa majina naitwa Mr. Edwin Ombati. Sasa nimeanza kufunza, kitu ya kwanza nimeshukuru serikali kwa kazi ambayo inayofanya. Watu wa bodaboda tumesa wafunza. Ni asa watu wa serikali ya NTSA pia tulienda kama training ili watu tuwafunze watu wa bodaboda wajue jinsi wanaoendesha pikipiki. Unajua hawakuwa wanajua sheria. Kufikia saa hii, I hope hata wakati nilikuwa natembea kwa barabara naona maneno imebadilika tangu mwanzo nianze. Watu wamejua kufika hasari ajali inafanyika kwa junctions. Unapata wengi hawajui mambo ya junctions, hapo ndio ajali inafanyika sana. Hata road signs hawajui, lakini naona saa hii behaviors imeanza kubadilika vizuri. Na nimeshukuru serikali iendelee tu.
Watu wangapi saa hizi mmeweza kufunza?
Tumefunza watu 550. Already wamesatoka, wamekuwa trained, wamekuwa sawa.
Na asante sana. Well, you've just heard from the boda operators here. They are being trained here. They have been here since last week. This is the last lot out of the 600 boda operators here in Mirongo sub-county. They are saying that currently for those who had been trained, they are well equipped and they are good to go and they are ready for that crackdown, and whoever will be on the road, that is the police and also the NTSA officers, they'll just show them their driving license and also all the equipment that they wanted. And currently they are promising that there will be no more accidents caused by them due to negligence. Back to you.
All right, Bernardo Juang there from Migori County. And of course, training program that is centered on trying to educate motorists and especially border operators on safe road usage. And Francis Major, you have, you in terms of, okay, before we ask you that question, I understand we have Oko Kusa who's in Kisumu County. Oko Kusa, very good morning to you. What can you tell us from Kisumu with regards to our morning conversation?
Yes, Zainab, of course, the residents here are eager to join into this conversation, which we all understand is touching on every corner of this country. Wherever there are motorists and machines that move on our roads, of course, you have to expect that there are accidents that occur due to misuse or negligence of those machines. And Kisumu is not left out in this conversation, of course. We know that there are a huge population of boda operators here, and of course tuk-tuk vehicles to ply the streets of Kisumu, and that, as expected, has to come along with the challenges. And again, we also understand that Kisumu is one of those towns in Kenya that has experienced remarkable improvement as far as road development or road infrastructure is concerned, and that too has come with its own share of challenges. And right besides me are some of the residents, and they're going to share with us the reason why they think that these road accidents are on the rise, according to NTSA report that was released just the other day. Let's start by this gentleman here. Just start by introducing yourself, and then you tell us what are some of those reasons why you think there are escalations of road accidents in Kenya today, especially on the parts of pedestrians.
Okay, my name is Douglas Miyumo. I'm Douglas Miyumo from Kisumu. Nataka kusema ya kwamba watu as a resident of Kisumu, tunaona there are some drivers, they are not qualified to drive on the road. That is the first mistake we have in Kenya. Sasa tunaomba Matiang'i na Minister of Transport aangalie hao watu vizuri, kwa sababu kuna watu wengi Kenya na kuna magari pia wako mingi Kenya. Mabarabara pia hakuna road signs. Road signs waweke ndio watu wajue wanafaa kufuata wapi. Na barabara pia waangalie madrivers mgani anatosha kuendesha gari kwa barabara, kwa sababu kuna wengine wanatoka tu kwa driving school wanaanza kuendesha magari kwa barabara. Kuna wengine wako na driving license fake. Matiang'i, tunaomba ulianza vizuri, lakini saa hizi umedhalia kazi yako. Tunaomba ya kwamba uendelee kuangalia hao watu wasiue wa abiria wale wanatembea kwa barabara, kwa sababu hao pia wako na jukumu na rights wa kutembea kwa barabara. Na kuna watu pia ambao akili zao hawako kwa barabara, wako na mawazo ya nyumba, mawazo ya pesa, kwa sababu uchumi ya Kenya iko juu. Sasa watu wako na shida mingi, wanatembea wakiongea kwa barabara. Sasa hizo ndio shida mingi inafanya watu wengi wanapoteza maisha yao kwa barabara. Tunaomba serikali aangalie watu, wasipotezee watu kazi, watu waendelee kufanya kazi, mtu asipotezee maisha yake kwa barabara kwa sababu ya ajali ndogo. Na tunaomba ya kwamba Matiang'i na Minister wa Transport achukue jukumu lake kama minister. Afanye kazi yake.
Asante sana. Wacha tuongee na mwingine basi. Anza na jina.
Kwa majina naitwa Anthony Ukech, mkaji wa Kisumu. Nafanya boda operation hapa Kisumu.
Inasemekana ya kwamba hasa wale watu wa boda pia wengi sana wamepoteza maisha yao kutokana na ajali ya barabarani. In fact, NTSA inasema kufikia sasa, kuanzia Januari mpaka sasa 323 boda Kenya nzima wamepoteza maisha yao. Hapa Kisumu ni nini aswa ni shida? Ama what is it that causes road accidents in Kisumu?
Okay, it's true. I may believe the report, though I've not seen the report personally, but I may believe the report. But I want to say that the number, I would count the number 300 mostly imefanyika hapa Kisumu. Sababu Kisumu kuna umaskini sana. There's intense poverty in Kisumu. That is why you find so many youths venture into boda operation. And they venture into that business and they are inexperienced. And being that Matiang'i aliongeza rules zingine pia, sasa ikafanyika kuna hizo backstreet driving schools zikaongezeka. Sasa mtu anaenda driving school 2 weeks, ako barabarani, 2 weeks ako barabarani, 3 weeks barabarani, and they are inexperienced. Na wengine pia wanafanya hadi usiku, wengine wanafanya wakiwa wamelewa. Ndio inasababisha ajali sana Kisumu.
We witnessed a lot of you crossing, especially the highway between Kisumu boys towards Kakamega, which should be two-way dual. But we've seen a lot of boda operators crossing on undesignated areas, yani zile sehemu ambazo hawafai kuvukia barabara. And that has caused quite a number of accidents we've actually witnessed. Kwa nini mnafanya hivyo? Kwa nini you are not adhering to the rules?
Okay, not everyone do that. Yeah. But I would count that as being inexperienced. Yeah. And we also lack civic education where some of us can be taught about that. Yeah, but some of us do it deliberately because they want to cross very fast.
Okay. Thank you. Tuchukue mwisho basi. Anza na majina. Tafadhali toa kofia kama unaweza.
Kofia sasa si bora iko tu sawa.
Sawa. Endelea.
Kwa majina naitwa Victor Mondi. Mimi ni mfanyakazi wa pikipiki hapa Kisumu.
Nini naswa inasababisha ajali barabarani hapa Kisumu, especially upande wa bodaboda?
Kitu nafanya ajali inafanyika kwa barabara ni unajua siku hizi unapata vijana wanamaliza shule, kazi hakuna. Sasa hii sekta ya pikipiki imebaki kama kazi kwa vijana. Sasa unapata mtu amekuwa nyumbani, yeye si mwizi, anataka tu apate pikipiki kabla baada hana experience vizuri, anakuja hapa anaanza kufanya. Sasa mtu anafika town na hana experience, sasa unapata baada anagongana na gari huko kwa barabara.
Okay. Now personally wewe ungependelea ni nini ifanywe ili hizi ajali zipunguzwe?
Tunaweza fanya ama niombe serikali ndio wanafanya tu hiyo rule ya Matiang'i rule ikuje tu because inasaidia tuangalie ama vijana because wakuwe na license, driving license ile inaonyesha mtu amekubaliwa kufanya kazi kwa hapo barabara. Sasa license ikue waangalie na hizo ma rules pia zikue. Sasa
Zainab, that's a raft of issues coming up from boda operators here and pedestrians in Kisumu, just on touching on the road safety that we all are concerned about. We are talking of 428 deaths of pedestrians so far, according to NTSA report from January to April. And of course, that's a sharp rise from 391, which, according to the report, happened between the same period last year. So it is, of course, a matter of concern. And as you've heard from the operators we've spoken with here and some of the pedestrians, issues to do with illegally acquired licenses, inexperienced drivers on our roads are some of the issues that they are bringing up, and they want the concerned authorities to crack the whip on such people so that we can reduce or eradicate road accidents in the country. Back to you, Zainab.
Thank you so much, Okukusa from Kisumu County, and indeed quite startling and harrowing statistics there. Major, you know, some of those answers that were given to Okukusa, which include, like he said, and trying to get, you know, licenses in back doors and trying to, you know, do all these things. I mean, these are some of the challenges that we're facing in terms of trying to curb even road carnage in the country. Do you believe we've moved forward in terms of addressing some of these issues?
Yes, I strongly believe that we've made progress because if you look at the boda phenomenon, before 2008, when the government waived duty on motorcycles, the numbers of motorcycles in this country were very low. Immediately NTSA came on board, we actually have very comprehensive boda rules and regulations, which will help broadly. If they are followed, they will address all the concerns that you are hearing of. Because just to mention, it places responsibilities to three people. The rider himself has a responsibility. First of all, to ensure that he's properly licensed and he has a valid driving license. To the owner, because some of these motorcycles are not actually owned by the riders themselves. There is somebody seated somewhere who owns it. It is the responsibility of the owner to ensure whoever is riding has a valid driving license. Then even the passengers themselves, the pillion passengers who have been carried, have a responsibility. But
the problem they say, Major, is the fact that it's an easy industry to earn money from.
Yes.
Like you can just finish school, and if you don't get a job somewhere, go get a motorbike, or you know get hired by someone who owns a motorbike, and you earn your shilling there.
Yes, it is easy because there is easy entry. However, the risks also are increasing so much. And the risk factors including death, injuries. You must make sure that if you want to venture into such a business, you must have the basics. And this notion that I just walk in and walk out, that is where we get it wrong. You must make sure if you want to be a boda rider, go to school. And it is encouraging to see some of the initiatives like the one in Rongo, where these people are taken through a formal training, basic road signage. All that is very important.
Is this also under the NTSA's program? This particular training that we are seeing?
Yes, we are actually partnering with even constituencies and we thank those members of parliament who have committed funds to channel them directly to train these people. And we want to thank what we call the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. Most of the women rep have actually committed funds that are channeling towards the training of these bodas. This is the way to go. We need to do that so that we train these people to give them the capacity to be able to do their business in a safe environment. Otherwise, it does not make sense for me to go into a business that tomorrow I might be killed, I might be injured. It doesn't make sense at all. So the first thing is get proper licensed and observe basic traffic rules.
All right. Nicholas, does your organization help in terms of addressing these challenges that we're seeing, especially with, you know, the boda riders, the licenses issues, and of course just obeying these simple traffic rules that we have?
Tunajaribu sana kadri ya uwezo wetu kama Boda Association of Kenya kuona ya kwamba kila mtu anafuata sheria na maadili ambayo inastahili kama mwendeshaji wa pikipiki, ili watu wakikuona kuone kama mtu ambaye anafanya kazi yake. Usije ukaonekana kana kwamba ni mtu ambaye jinsi mkubwa amesema hii ni kazi ambayo kila mtu anaingilia tu kwa sababu ni kazi ambayo wewe ukitoka tu hapo kanyaga hapo nje tayari uko na customer, pesa ushapata. Huyu mtu ataka kuuliza uko na license ama hauna.
But that's a challenge, you agree? Do you agree with the fact that that's actually a challenge, that we have a lot of people who want to be in the sector in any way without formal training?
Yes, it is, kwa sababu unakuta asubuhi, yani mtu yoyote yule ambaye anafikiria hata mtoto amekuwa kiburi kwa familia. Mama anasema enda kwa duka chukulia pikipiki mpatie, inakuwa ni kama sasa laana. Unajua mtu akitaka kukuharibu ama akitupulia mbali anasema jambo lolote kukuhusu. But I want to make sure that this country inafikia kiwango cha kuona kwamba boda ni kazi kama kazi nyingine. Jambo lingine ambalo ningependa kusema, naona watu wakisoma kilalamika sana ya kwamba watu hawana licenses. I want to tell you that license peke yake haiwezi kufanya accident zikose kukua. What we need to do in this country, as NTSA, wajaribu kupartner with Boda Association, with other boda organizations and guys ambao wataweza change behavior change kwanza. Unajua mtu akishajua nikifanya ile ni mbaya, hii ni mbaya, atajua kila ambacho kinastahili. Jambo lingine ni road signs, watu waweze kuzijua. Sheria za barabara ukishaziweka ndani ya kichwa chako itakusaidia kufanya kitu ambacho kinakuruhusu kufanya katika nchi yetu. Lakini ukipatia tu mtu license, bora ako na license, hiyo haibadilishi na kulete road accidents kuwa chini katika nchi yetu. For instance, kama watu wa magari matatu, how many guys wako na magari big cars like Prados and V8s hawana licenses, ama wako na license lakini ukiona zile vitu wanafanya hazistahili? So kila ambacho ningependa kusema, sisi kama Boda Association of Kenya tunajaribu sana kutrain watu wetu wafuate sheria na maadili ya kijamii, waache zile tabia ambazo walikuwa nazo before. Ukiangalia accidents mingi zinasababishwa na watu ambao pengine unakuta I want to believe county governments, mimi kwa side yangu, cause unakuta county governments wanawaambia watu kwamba mtakuwa mkipark pikipiki hapa, lakini mahali ambapo mnapewa parking areas inakuwa ni kwa barabara. So area kama hizo zinafanya hata accidents zinakuwa mingi sana katika nchi yetu. Lakini tukifuata sheria na tuweze kushikana NTSA, county governments na national government with all these boda associations ambazo tuko nazo, I want to tell you that vitu zita change katika nchi yetu, and soon we are going to see change. Haitabakia vile jinsi ilivyo.
Okay.
Let's expect mazuri kutoka kwetu. Si tuzidi kulaumiana tu kila wakati, hapana. Ni wakati wa kuona change. Na change inaanza na mimi na wewe. Yeah.
All right, Nicholas, I'd just like to remind our viewers that you can be part of this conversation on our social media platforms at NTV Kenya, at Zainab Ismail. The hashtag is NTV Today. What do you think can be done to reduce road carnage in the country in light of the rising fatalities that we've seen on our roads? And before we continue the conversation, we have our Seth Olale, who is currently at the Kilimani locals. Now, Seth is following up on two particular cases. One is touching on the Migori Governor Okoth Obado, and another case on the former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidera. Very good morning to you, Seth. At what point are you? At what case are you following up for us at this particular point?
Well, a very warm morning here at the Kilimani locals, where we expect the trial of the murder case of former University Rongo student Sharon Otieno to formally begin here at the Kilimani locals. Already, Justice Jesse Lesitu, who is supposed to preside over this particular case, is already present in court. What we know is that we haven't seen the Migori Governor Okoth Obado, who is implicated in this particular case and was charged with murder alongside his two aides. We're talking about his former PA Michael Oyamo, alongside the former Migori County Government Clerk Caspar Obiero, who actually were also charged along the governor. And so we expect the trial of this particular case to begin in the here at the High Court in Kilimani. But even before the trial begins, remember that there was an application that was filed by Caspar Obiero, who is the former clerk at the county government of Migori, together with Michael Oyamo, Okoth Obado, former PA. They filed an application seeking that Justice Jesse Lesit disqualifies herself for this particular case. And this is what they stated. According to the two accused persons and who were also charged murder, they say that they don't believe they will get a fair trial before Justice Lesit, simply because that she denied them to release on bond, and that was last year. And they argue that the judge was biased against them and they're unlikely to get a fair trial. And they stated that according to the statements that were presented, and if I may just go through the contents of that particular application, according to Obiero argued that he wasn't mentioned anywhere in the statements that were provided, outlaid by investigators, and yet the court denied him bond. And according to Michael Oyamo, who's Governor Okoth Obado's former PA, he argued that the court denied him bond simply because it stated that he will most likely cause public disturbance, but the court did not actually establish that he is able to cause public disturbance through previous records. And so the two accused persons, that is Michael Oyamo and Caspar Obiero, believe that they may not get a fair trial before Justice Jesse Lesit. They want her to disqualify herself from this particular murder case. And so before the trial begins formally, that particular application will be presented in court and it must be determined before the trial formally begins. And just to give you a recap about the case of the 26-year-old former Rongo University student Sharon Otieno, a body was found in Homa Bay County on the night of September 3rd and 4th. That was in 2018. And according to investigators, they established that the the sitting Migori Governor Okoth Obado was directly involved in this particular crime, together with his two aides, who are Michael Oyamo, his former PA, as well as Caspar Obiero, who is a clerk at the Migori County government, or rather was at that particular time. And remember that the Governor Okoth Obado was released on a 5 million shillings cash bail, but he was given terms and conditions which included, he was restricted actually to mention anything about this particular murder case in any gathering and in any forum. And he was also restricted earlier on, before he appealed the bond terms. He was restricted from going anywhere near. He was actually confined to a 20 kilometers radius, and he was not supposed to go anywhere near Homa Bay County, but he sought actually he filed an application seeking fair bond terms, and he was able to, the court here was able to lift that particular barrier that had hindered the Migori governor from, accessing some of his constituents who are in part and parcel bordering Homa Bay County, but he is still confined not to travel. Remember that he was also not allowed to interfere with witnesses. And talking about witnesses, we have a total of 24 witnesses lined up by the prosecution in this particular case. We expect that where if the trial will start today, the prosecutor to give his opening statement and just clarify exact how many witnesses he has lined up for this particular case, and also the prosecution is supposed to state which methods it's going to use in terms of what outlining some of the evidence, which it stated earlier that it has watertight evidence against the three accused persons who are Okoth Obado, the sitting Migori governor, Michael Oyamo, his former PA, and Caspar Obiero, a clerk at the Migori County government. And so after this particular statement from the prosecution, we also expect the defense team also to just respond to that opening remark from the prosecution. Remember, but apart from the trial of the 26-year-old former Migori, former Homa Bay County, rather former Rongo University student, that is Sharon, the late Sharon Otieno. Apart from this particular case, we also have another high-profile case involving corruption, and this one implicates the former Nairobi County governor, that is Evans Kidero, whose case now begins formally today. Remember that this is a separate case apart from the one that he was just arraigned here in court over 2 weeks ago, and we are talking about the loss of 200 million shillings at the county government at that particular time. So we have two high-profile cases expected to kick off here at the Kilimani Law Courts, but all eyes are on the trial of the murder case implicating Migori Governor Okoth Obado, and already we know that Justice Jesse Lesit, who is presiding over this particular case, is already here present at the Kilimani Law Courts, and we are expecting the other accused persons to just walk inside the court for this particular trial to begin.
All right, thank you so much, Seth Olale there from the Kilimani Law Courts, of course, following up on those particular high-profile cases. And we'll be bringing you more details of the cases later on in our subsequent bulletins. And the government in December 2018 issued a 3-month extension to May 2019 for the boda operators to comply with safety requirements, which include the acquisition of driving licenses, insurance, and protective gear. Now, that deadline will be coming to an end this particular month. Is there a way to gauge that some of these guidelines have been adhered to?
Well, there's a task force that was gazetted to really look afresh at this boda industry as a whole and recommend proper actions that need to be taken to ensure that there's safety in this particular sector. This task force has not yet finished its work, and they are progressing well. And actually members of the public have been invited even to contribute and give their opinions on what needs to be done. And as soon as this is done, definitely we need to start raining on this industry, because we cannot allow it to go on the way it is. It must be changed so that we ensure there is safety. Yes, we know it creates employment to a very big population of the youth, but it must be done in a safe environment, because again, we don't want to lose the same youth or render them unproductive because they've been injured, therefore they cannot be able to contribute to the society. So as soon as this task force publishes or finalizes its report, then
will that be soon?
Yes, definitely it's going to be soon. The cabinet secretary is cleanly following on it, and as soon as it's ready, then we need to. But I want to caution, We don't have to wait for that to happen, so that for the time being, they are allowed to do the basic things needs to happen. And unfortunately, for most of the intervention in this country, people tend to want to wait until it's the last minute. I want to advise this sector, please comply even before. Issues like having a driving license, having protective gear. We've even gone a step further. We've actually anchored in law. Today, if you want to purchase a motorcycle, it must be supplied with 2 helmets and 2 reflector materials as a minimum. But you see, even when you saw the video clip, you find the rider is putting on a helmet, which is a good thing, but the passenger themselves, the person who is being carried, and is paying for that service, does not even bother. Sometimes they are holding the helmet in their hands. Those are things that really nobody need to emphasize, with the risk that we see, the deaths that we report every day. And the worst thing is that most of these people, when you fall, unlike a vehicle, you could be protected by the vehicle. But here, when you fall, there's nothing to protect you. That's why a helmet becomes very critical.
And this is some of the issues that we've been talking about year on. But with this particular recommendation, and of course from the task force and the requirements that are needed when it comes to curbing this particular menace, especially from the border operators, do you actually believe we can see change?
Yes, I have seen determination and I've seen resolve from government more than any other time before. And I'm telling you, and I want to say this, from what I know is going to be planned, this will come to an end. There are no 2 ways.
All right. Nicholas, in terms of, your organization and even others that you're partnering with in terms of safety sensitization, specifically to your riders, can you gauge the level of impact that has had? Have you been able to sensitize your riders in terms of making sure that they actually comply with these rules?
Absolutely. Tunajaribu sana kwa sababu hapo nyuma ama hapo awali tulikuwa tunaambia watu, mtu anatuambia mimi sinajua kuendesha pikipiki. Lakini sasa sheria tunawaambia kwamba sheria ya Matiang'i. Ukitaka tu watu wafuate vizuri, unawaambia sheria ya Matiang'i inakuja na nakwambia itakuwa ngumu sana saidi yako. Kwa njia moja ama nyingine, watu wanajaribu kufuata sheria sana. Na ningependa ni mweleze ndugu Francis, kuna shida ambayo tuko nayo sisi kama riders. Na hii shida inatakana msaidiane na polisi na maafisa wenu. Mtu anapanda kwa pikipiki yako, wewe uko na helmet 2, lakini anakuambia hataki kuvaa helmet. Wewe uko na haja na pesa. Utafanyaje? You simply tell that person, helmet ndio hiyo hapo nyuma, wekelea kwa kichwa, reflector amevaa. Wewe ukienda unakutana na askari anashika wewe ati haujapatia mtu helmet. Ile hali askari mwenyewe kwa macho yake ya ndani, hata ya kawaida, anaona mtu ameshika helmet kwa mkono.
Who should be able to enforce this regulatory, or do we actually lack that regulatory structure when it comes to passengers, and who should be able to enforce these particular regulations, Francis?
You see, and I want to give an example of a pilot. When you are in that aircraft, the captain is in charge, irrespective of whom he's carrying or who is on board. It doesn't matter the status. They must comply, and the person in charge at that moment is the captain of the plane. Likewise to boda. The rider should take control. If you are riding and somebody says he doesn't want to put on a helmet, mwambie, tafadhali basi ngoja, mimi siwezi kukubeba. The moment that happens, everybody will comply because they know there is no option. But if you give them easier options, human beings is natural, they will always prefer an easier option. The easier option is kushika kwa mkono. Lakini ukimwambia kama unataka kuingia kwa hii pikipiki yangu, lazima uvalie hiyo helmet. Kama utaki, watafuta.
But like Nicholas is saying, then we'll find some riders saying, well, I want money.
Yes, you need money, but that money must be acquired. All of us need money. But do you break the law to get money? You don't. All of us need money.
All right.
But it must be done and earned in a legal way.
Okay. And it's a very important topic. I mean comment here that the Director General has made. When it comes to riding a motorcycle, you're the person who is in charge. So where do you draw the line between wacha tu niende tukufie huko mbele tukikufia, ama no, I'm not going to ride with you as a passenger unless you actually use a protective gear.
Hapo ninakubaliana na yeye. Nilikuwa nataka kusikia saidi yake kwa sababu tumekuwa tukipeana excuse ya kwamba tunashikwa kwa sababu ya passengers ambao tunabeba. Lakini kwa saizi even members of the public, lakini lazima wakuwe warned na waambiwe kwamba wakati hii sheria inaanza haitashika tu yule ambaye anaendesha peke yake. Ningependa hii sheria ishike mwenye kubebwa na mwenye kubeba. Kwa sababu wakati makosa yanatokea, mwenye pikipiki amekubeba kwa sababu wewe umempatia pesa yako ambayo sio mbaya. Lakini wewe mwenye kubebwa, make sure ya kwamba mwenye amekubeba ni mtu ambaye amekomaa katika barabara. Ukomavu kwa njia gani? Mtu ako na driving license. Hata ukifika tuko mahali unaenda kubeba, huwezi kuta tu youth hawa tu vijana kidogo, mtu anakuambia twende na wewe unakimbilia tu. Hapana, maisha yako ni muhimu sana. Mtu anakuja anakuambia twende mbio kwa sababu anasikianga pikipiki inajua kupenya kwa jam ama kupenya barabara inaenda haraka. Speed tena ni kitu ambaye inatusumbua sana sisi. Ningependa niombe wale ambao wanatengeneza mapikipiki, if there is any way wanaweza regulate your speed ya pikipiki, kuwe na speed ya governor haiwezi wekwa, lakini iwe pikipiki haiwezi pita speed ya 80. At least hapo tutakuwa tuna reduce ma accidents na injuries ambazo zinatokea.
But you do agree, Nicholas, that just before we move on to the next topic or discussion, is the fact that as a rider, it is your responsibility to ensure that your passenger is safe before embarking on a journey.
Ndio hiyo. Lazima tu ni make sure kwamba abiria wangu amevaa reflector.
So you do agree?
I'm agreeing on that 100%.
Right. But maybe Zainab, something else. You see also passengers themselves are irresponsible. If you are on a highway and you are being driven, the rider is going against oncoming traffic, you're just seated there. That's also lack of responsibility to the passenger who is being carried. Because if I see that I'm being ridden or that rider is riding recklessly, I have an obligation also as the person who is paying for that service to caution this person and say, no, if you continue carrying me this way, I would rather descend back and wait for another one than to continue being done.
Do you have then regulations that would guide passengers as well when it comes to...
Yes, they have that right. You see, this is a service they are paying for. And when you are paying for a service, you expect to be given a quality service. But whatever that puts you at risk, you should refuse.
Do we then, do we then have the rules that would govern passengers in terms of getting that service? And of course, if this happens, if I find you on a boda going against traffic, I'm going to arrest both the rider and the passenger.
The Boda Regulation 2014 is very comprehensive. And as I said, it places responsibility to 3 people. The rider, the person being carried, and the owner. It is very comprehensive. If we only followed that, some of the problems that we are seeing here will not be there.
All right. And we're going to take a very short break here on NTV Today. The conversation continues on all social media platforms. At NTV Kenya, Zainab Ismail, the hashtag is NTV Today. right, thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NTV Today, and our conversation this morning is around the road carnage, startling and harrowing statistics there from the National Transport and Safety Authority. Pedestrians are the highest contributors to road accidents in the country. Francis Major, this is the road safety status that was launched yesterday during the Road Safety Week that is happening across the world. And pedestrians have been named as the highest contributors to road carnage in the country. How did this happen? And what really contributes to pedestrians being the highest contributors?
Actually, that is the category of vulnerable. We call them vulnerable road users. Pedestrians contribute about 40% of the total statistics. And the difficulty in pedestrian is that they are not confined in one specific area. It is scattered all over the country.
Right.
It becomes very, very difficult to put any interventions because they are spread all over. The challenge, a number of them. One, pedestrians, when they cross the road, they are also not keen. They are not observant. As one of the reporters reported in Kisumu, people cross the road or use the road while they are not attentive, they are on phone, and they expose themselves to unnecessary risks. But the worst, if you look at even the statistics, majority of these accidents happen in dark hours, from around 5, 6, going up to around 10 dark hours. People crossing the road while they are not visible, it becomes very difficult even for any motorist to identify there's somebody crossing the road. We advise strongly that for people who frequently cross the road or use the road, especially at dark hours, they need to put on reflective clothing. And if you look at a country like Sweden, which have done very, very well in terms of road reduction in road fatalities, and because of the climate of that country, every person who pedestrian uses a reflective material so that they are visible from a distance. We also have challenges of pedestrians who cross the road while drunk, and therefore they are not able to make a judgment on what time to cross and the speed in which the vehicle is approaching. Those are the challenges we have. There are also some cases, and we thank the government on this because largely there has been a very good intervention of inadequate infrastructure to enable the pedestrian cross.
And I was coming to that in terms of even footbridges and pedestrian walkings, and of course even the zebra crossing.
Correct.
All right, and do you then think we actually lack enough infrastructure when it comes to that? But is it also bad culture in terms of the pedestrians themselves? You know, for example, I'll give an example of the Thika superhighway, and we have footbridges across the highway, but you'll find pedestrian running across the road instead of taking a few minutes just to climb the footbridge to cross the other road. Is it just bad culture?
It is definitely bad culture because it doesn't take much. If you assess the risk in which you are putting yourself and the effort you need to move a few meters to use a footbridge, in fact, sometimes it doesn't make sense. By the time you're trying to cross a superhighway like Thika superhighway, an 8-lane road, the difficulty in which you are crossing and the risk is too much. You end up actually taking more time crossing that road than walking to the footbridge and using it. So it doesn't really make sense. And those are the things we want to tell people. It does not help. Even if it was to take a little longer to walk to where the footbridge is or any designated crossing point, you would rather take a little more time than expose yourself to the risk that you see. And you see, a superhighway like Thika superhighway, when you are hit by a vehicle at that speed, there is no chance of you surviving. Zero. Because statistics have shown that if you may have a chance of surviving if you are hit by a vehicle at below 30 kilometers per hour. Anything above that, you are almost guaranteed that you will die. So it is not worth putting your life. Sometimes actually we question ourselves. Are citizens of this country, do they value their life? Because if they value their life, what will it take you to take a little more effort just to walk across? So those are the things we want to appeal to the public and sensitize them. The risk is so much.
And just before we move to Nicholas, in terms of infrastructure, are there plans to improve and make the pedestrian infrastructure that would facilitate, their movement better?
Yes. And we look at the superhighway. There are even now currently a number of footbridges are being constructed, more additional footbridges. But we want to encourage the people to use them. If you look at Mombasa Highway from Nyayo roundabout all the way to the airport turnoff, previously there was no infrastructure that was there to cross. But the government has put in bridges. There's one at Bellevue. Bellevue used to be a notorious place. Every single day, a number of people used to die at that spot, on that spot. There is now a proper footbridge that is facilitating people to cross.
And that has reduced the fatality?
That has reduced significantly.
All right. Nicholas, do you think we just don't value our lives as pedestrians, especially when it comes to, crossing roads and even just following those traffic rules that we know as pedestrians?
Ni ukweli watu wa kawaida ambao wanatembea kwa barabara, wale wana cross, wanatembea tu unashangaa. Nimesikia mmoja akiongea kutoka Kisumu ya kwamba watu wako na mawazo mengi, mtu afikiri, mawazo yamewasonga kwa sababu ya uchumi. Lakini ni kitu ambaye ina affect kila Mkenya, sio wewe peke yako mwenye na cross barabara. Tuangalie sheria za barabara. Cross barabara mahali inafaa. Kwa zebra crossing peke yake. Unakuta mtu footbridge iko hapa juu na yeye anangangana hapa chini ku cross mbio. Sasa wakati hata gari inaweza ona gari kwa speed ya 80. Kwa sababu ukiangalia speed limit kuna mahali inakukubalia hata 50 ukimbie. Wakati unapiga tu hiyo 50 yako, mtu ana cross mbele mbio. Huwezi taka kumgonga. Ukijaribu tu ku reduce speed kidogo, mwenye alikuwa anakufuata nyuma, accident imetokea. Yule mtu hayuko, watu wanakufa kwa magari, watu karibu 10 kwa sababu ya mtu mmoja. So ni vizuri watu ambao wanatembea kwa miguu ama Wakenya wenzetu, tafadhali tuangalie sheria za barabara. Tusilaumu tu wale ambao wanaendesha peke yake. Hata wale wa kutembea lazima wafuate sheria za barabara. Kila mahali ambapo unatembea uhakikisha kwamba unajali maisha yako. Maisha yako ni muhimu sana kuliko hata wale wengine ambao unajali. Anza na yako, yale watu wengine pia wajali maisha yao. Tutakuwa nchi ambayo tutakuwa ni nchi ya ustaarabu.
All right. And we have Bridget Sungana, who is in Nakuru County, also speaking on the same. And remember, Nakuru County is the host of the Sachangwan Salga stretch. This has witnessed some of the country's worst accidents. And we're going to get a glimpse of what the residents feel about what should be done to help improve and decrease the number of fatalities on our roads. Bridget, it's a very good morning to you. What can you tell us from Nakuru County?
Yes, Zainab, you've just mentioned correctly that we are along the stretch that has witnessed a series of tragic road accidents leading to massive loss of lives along this route. We do know that it is the Great North Road and there's a lot of traffic on this road. And just to bring you up to speed on what has been developing on the Salga and Sachangwan stretch, the Kenya National Highway Authority is currently constructing a dual carriageway just to prevent the crashes that used to take place along that stretch. And we do know that the Sachangwan stretch is really a hilly and curvy area, and there was the problem of those who are driving heavy freight vehicles, driving on free gear and engaging the free gear as they descend towards Salga, and this has led to tragic accidents and massive loss of life. But to just bring us up to speed on safety, because we're talking about road safety, this being Road Safety Awareness Week, we are joined on set by the Managing Director of Universal Health and Safety Works Consultancies, and he's just going to explain to us in terms of safety, what is the awareness of Kenyans in terms of using the road?
Kenyans are not very aware about road safety. First of all, I'd want to begin, a road is a community, and every community has different people. In your community, you have a drunkard, you have a pastor. So that's the same which applies in every community is what happens with the road. The road is actually a community and which you have different people. You have cyclists, you have pedestrians, you have children, you have motor vehicles, you have semi-trucks. So the challenge occurs is that there is no symbiotic relationships on how they interact. We face issues, for instance, if you're driving down the Great Rift River, for example, in Nakuru County, we commence all the way from Molo to Naivasha. This is an accident-prone area. The road design, it's a thing which NTSA has promised to address, and they've commenced addressing in Salga, but it's an issue of concern. But a bigger concern is actually the fact that you have motorcyclists and matatu who just come in and off the road. They actually create a hazard, and from the moment you leave Nakuru or leave Nairobi, you tend to adapt the unsafe behaviors based on what you see happening with the matatu operators, with the bodas, with other vehicles. And I think that goes back to training. What is our training really? Do the driving schools, do they have the competence that is actually required? Because what we face, you can go to a driving school easily for 10 lessons, and then they have their way through. Then you get a driver's license, but you don't know the basic safety principles. For example, how do you observe distance between your vehicle and the rest? If you're a cyclist, what gears, what apparatus are you supposed to have on? Helmets, reflectors, what are the importance? You see a motor, you can easily find on the streets a boda rider with a construction helmet. But he'll easily pass by any police stops. And if you ask him in terms of compliance, he'll tell you, yeah, I'm compliant, I have a helmet. So what is our trainings? Where do these motorcyclists go for training?
So you're implying that there's corruption and also we are not disciplined even in terms of training, in preparing people to use the road?
Yes, absolutely. In terms of training, honestly, there's a huge lag behind. And we hope when the new curriculum with NTSA comes on board, they address each and every aspect. And it has to start from a younger age. From kids cycling to school. What principle are they supposed to follow? Because if you go down, for example, the Dondori-Lanet Road, you'll find kids who are going to school on a bicycle, no helmets, no reflectors. They only have their school attire, and the uniforms, nothing else. So it has to start from a very, very young age. It has to be introduced in a curriculum in schools. Also, corruption, we can't deny it plays a huge problem in this republic, and not only in safety, because somebody operates a bicycle, boda, then eventually graduates into driving a boda, goes for a driver's test, is given the competency and the license to drive a vehicle, but honestly they have no background. So they'll drive their vehicles the same way they used to drive their bicycles, which in terms of safety rules and regulations are zero.
99%, it has been proven statistically that 99% of accidents take place due to human error. We're looking at past accidents along this route that maybe the driver, the 4-ton, and maybe, for example, the driver maybe had done various trips before, maybe succumbing to sleep or something, and those accidents are caused by human error. What would be the best way to reduce this percentage maybe, and everyone could be safe when using the road?
That's very true. Most accidents occur, I will not call them accidents anymore, because when you do something, you do the same thing and expect different results. I don't believe it's an accident. The people, the linguistics guys say you're a fool. One of the things you've mentioned, Bridget, is very true. It's the issue of fatigue. A fatigued driver is actually worse than an impaired driver. A fatigued driver is worse than an impaired driver. And companies, some organizations, for example at Universal, they've come up with statistics on how we measure fatigue for an employee, and we've used it to implement in some of the organizations. And you find that it's actually factual. When a driver takes multiple trips, they become fatigued. When you become fatigued, you become stressed. When you're stressed, you can't be able to make the right decisions. For example, you can't calculate your speeds around the corner. You can't check your blind spots. It's a regulation. You're supposed to check your blind spots in the vehicles. So you can easily either get crashed on or crash. Again, when it comes to bends and corners, you'll not be paying attention because you'll be more curious on getting there and actually taking a few minutes. Then there's this perception of drugs like mogoka, Mira, which are actually supposed to keep you awake. That is nothing further from the truth. I mean, if you're tired, you're tired. You can't do nothing about it. It actually be better for you, instead of taking a Red Bull, to sit and take a 10-minute nap. It has proven to be more effective. Because yes, you can take an energy drink, it will boost you. What about your eyelashes? What about the cognitive, your body itself? So there are aspects of fatigue management that has to be adhered to. And my plea to NTSA is they need to come up with a mechanism or gadgets to measure fatigue. Because you see, for example, if you go to a police stop most of the time, you see a driver isn't drunk. He'll probably pass through the breathalyzer anytime. But you look at their eyes, look at how they're swelling, look at how they're unable to actually be cognitive enough. They need to be able to say, no, this is enough. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe finally, as we wind up, basically, what would be the best way to address this issue of road carnage? Year in, year out, we have NTSA giving out new regulations to driving license, to road users, and all those things. What would be the best solution, in brief, to help Kenya improve in terms of road safety?
My solutions, it's not one of. Number one, graduated sanctions. you see these buses which are honestly known to be and matatus. There needs to be strict sanction measures in terms of your taken taken further to the court. The circles are actually, you see arrests. I think that will drive. Number two, proper training. There was I think Honorable CS came up with regulations saying that all drivers will be mandated to take new tests and new certifications. Now that needs to be further, because in developed nations it's not a one-off thing. Driver's ed actually commences from when you are probably in high school. So we need to ensure that starts from then. How do you address cyclists who are high school students or primary school students? How do you address motorcycles? How do you address each and every other industry in a continuum basis? Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was the Shantaruru, healthy and safe expert, and who has just given us key pointers. And he says the basic thing that we need to do to improve our road safety in the country is to enhance our training, and it should start from the fundamental levels, probably even proposing to start it from the primary school level and then graduating all the way to people being professionals or being independent, and in a way inculcating an attitude of having discipline and reducing corruption on our roads, and possibly would not be asking NTSA to make changes or improve on their work already. Zainab.
All right, thank you so much, Bridget Singana there from Nakuru County, and very interesting contributions there. And something that has come up, and it's something that it's very important to discuss, is the fact that 7 days ago the authority had issued a notice with a 14-day ultimatum to all driving schools to submit afresh their licenses for validation, and that particular deadline will be elapsing exactly a week from now. Are we seeing a change in that, and are we seeing driving schools actually trying to meet those particular requirements?
Thank you, and I'm glad you've raised that, because it's an issue that even in today's some section of the media has been there's been some stories are going around, and I wish to clarify, because the position that I've seen in some section of the media today is not actually accurate. We are saying this. And I'm glad even your reporter has mentioned that the challenge of road safety begins with the quality of training. Driving school in this country have not been up to the standard that is expected. So what we've done, we have given a notice. We need to revalidate the licenses of these driving schools. We've given them time. And this
for all driving schools across the country?
All driving schools across the country. We've given them timelines. Anybody who will not have submitted, or who have not submitted their report back to us, their driving license will stand cancelled.
And this is in the next 7 days?
I remember the date. I think it will give them about 2 weeks for them to give that information. We have formed a team between NTSA and the National Police Service that will be visiting all these driving schools to check that the information that they've given is accurate. Those who will not have measured up to the expected standards, I want to tell you, and with avoidance of doubt, their licenses will be cancelled. But we are very happy. Last week we had a very good meeting with the Association of Driving School Association, and we have put to them why we want to go to this direction. And we are very happy that they appreciate where we are going to, and they have assured us of their support. Those who will not, I think it's time now. We say this Navi, they must move outside, because what have we seen? We've seen driving school mushrooming in very dingy corners in this country. You find a driving school upstairs, down on the ground floor is a bar.
Just a one-room kind of a space, and people put up a driving school
lacking basic instructions, instruments or tools to even undertake a training. So that's what we want to revalidate, check what has been happening, and we will take action.
Strict action for whoever does not comply.
And there are new guidelines and standards that we are setting. We thank God now we have a new curriculum, because previously what used to happen, Zainab, is that driving school A will choose what to teach. It was not standardized because there was no curriculum. Now we have a curriculum that must be followed. That if it is this unit, these are the number of hours that needs to lessons that you need to undertake. That will standardize driving teaching across board.
All right.
And we are now working even with the TVETs, tertiary institutions, and they are very willing to participate and take driving as part of the lessons that they want to be taking. And we are happy with that, because these people have the competency to teach. And that will ensure that the standards naturally will rise.
All right.
And we are working very closely with them to ensure that that is done.
And Nicholas, even from a motorcycle taxi operator, do you believe that the quality of learning is actually low?
Ukweli ni huo,
and which has also affected and is causing all this mayhem that we're seeing on our roads?
Ukweli wa mambo ni huo, na na support NTSA to the national government vile walisema kwamba wanaenda kudiregister all driving schools ili watu wakaweze kurudi nyuma na waanze fresh. Tunapata some of the schools or riding schools, unakuta mtu ameenda kwa shule, amelipa pesa kulingana na sheria vile inatakikana, lakini wakati mtu anapewa license yake, ukishikwa na polisi ikiangaliwa ati haiko kwa system. Sasa unashangaa, mimi niliingia kwa hii shule ambayo iko hapa NTV, nikasomeshwa hapo vizuri, nikafuata rules ambazo zinatakana, nikaenda kama ni miezi 2, nikamaliza kila kitu vizuri. Mwishowe mimi naenda kuwa punished kwa makosa ya shule ambayo mimi sikujua vile kunaenda. Nafikiria jambo lingine ambalo hawa NTSA wangefanya, all riding and driving schools zikuwe gazetted, zijulikane. Si ati wewe unatokea tu unaona tu sijui shule inaitwa nini, paka driving school unasema paka driving school tunafundisha defensive sijui nini, hizo vitu zote. Unakuta mtu anasibu shule, lakini ukianza kufuata ndani yake, bora yeye amepata, mtu amepewa license imejiendea. Wakati shule inatokea sasa, wakienda kuangalia license inapatikana hata sio yako. Unakuta mimi naitwa Nicholas na license inaenda kupatikana ni ya Margaret. How can that happen in this country?
Are we going to see probably a gazettement of these particular driving schools? And we understand there are about 600
yes.
driving schools in the country. Are we going to see a gazettement of those that have actually, been given a go-ahead?
Yes, we will. We will do that to ensure that the public is aware and they can easily verify that they're actually attending schools that are properly licensed, so that the public does not get swindled by some of these fraudsters.
And does it fall within your mandate to actually go to, physically to these schools to inspect if they are complying with those regulations?
Yes, with the new rules that have been gazetted, that mandate now will be with us. Yes.
All right. And so I remember also in November last year, you ordered PSVs to upgrade their speed governors, and this was to relay real-time speed information to the NTS servers, and operators had until March this year to comply with that directive. What is the progress?
Progress is good. We have made very good progress, and I want to say this. One of the major causes of fatal accident, especially in PSV vehicles, is speeding.
All right.
And for a long time we've been struggling to see how do we fix this issue of speeding. Because it is very tricky when you are driving on the highway, when these operators see police ahead, they slow down. Immediately they pass the police officers, then they switch off the gadgets, and the governor is made dysfunctional. And they speed. We cannot have police officers in each and every section of our roads. So what we've done is to upgrade the quality of the governor. The upgrade entails ability to relay information directly to our servers. So we'll have a monitoring center that if you install that equipment, the upgraded governor to your vehicle, we are able to then see the location of that vehicle and the speed in which that vehicle is operating at.
Do you have structures to ensure that all PSVs are actually complying with this particular directive?
What is going to happen is this, and that's what I'm coming to. Once that monitoring mechanism is there, it becomes then possible that if you speed, we pick you, irrespective of whether there was a police officer on the highway or not. If you also disconnect the governor, we will be able to see that you have disconnected the governor. That will give us now a better way of managing this thing, and avoid also the human process in the enforcement. Because sometimes you are caught speeding. These operators compromise the law enforcers. This one, you will be able to generate a report on a daily basis. This today, these are the number of vehicles which violated speed. Very important. I don't know what the question you were asking before.
In terms of
how we ensure compliance, what is going to happen is this, because we don't want to interrupt the services. We have agreed, in fact, that deadline was pushed from March to June.
To June this year?
To June this year.
All right.
Any vehicle that now will be going for inspection, one of the requirements is that they must be able to demonstrate to us that they fit the new gadget, and we'll be able to cite that vehicle in our system. So it is going to be a gradual process. Once your vehicle is due for inspection, make sure you are compliant. And if we start from June, 1st of June this year, by 1st of June the following year, everybody would have complied because their inspection periods vary. So at the point of inspection is when we are going to ensure that they are fully compliant. And this will go a long way to really manage the issue of speeding in this country.
Does this also cover boda operators?
No, bodas, the law at the moment is clear that vehicles which are supposed to go for inspection are vehicles with a tire weight of 3,048 kilograms. The motorcyclists are much lower than that. But we will need to look for a way. Let's sort out the PSV first. Then we will definitely see how do we then incorporate the issues of speeding for motorcycle. But I can tell you this, Zainab, the challenge of motorcycle is not speed.
What is the biggest challenge?
The challenge is the way the riders use the road. It is not speeding. Majority of the people who are motorcycle riders are killed not because of speed. It's because of non-reflective materials or wearing protective gear, issues of in a roundabout you didn't expect somebody to be riding opposite. You find them there
against the traffic.
Against traffic. Those are the challenges. It's not speed as such. No.
All right. You do agree that it's not speed that actually causes motorcycles to be involved in accidents?
Ukweli mambo ni hiyo. Sana sana kwa junctions. Hawa riders wakiwa tu wakifundishwa na ndio unaona sasa tumeanza kupeleka hawa ku-sensitize wakaweze kuelewa jinsi ya kutumia barabara na sheria wazifuate. Junctions kwa roundabout na change of lanes ndio zinawasumbua wengi wao. Lakini once tumeanza kufundisha like saizi 30% of them wanaelewa jinsi ya kufanya. Na unajua tayari ukiwa na 30%, at least hapo hauko na shida ya watu kuelewa kile ambacho wanafanya. Kwa roundabout mtu akifika ajue ya kwamba mataa zinasema stop, wait na uendelee, hivyo mtu akishajua haina shida. Lakini design ya mtu kutoka tu huko ana cross hata hataki kujua ni wapi alikuwa anaenda wapi anaenda, ndio unakuta wanagongwa wengi kwa roundabouts. Lakini tukianza kufuata sheria jinsi inavyostahili katika roundabouts, at least maneno ya speed hiyo hakuna shida.
All right.
Speed iko sawa.
I have a comment here from someone and he says, you know, deregistering driving schools isn't the only solution. It has to be complemented with other things, for example, road designs and erection of speed bumps. Do you agree?
Yes, for road safety is not one intervention that we are going to rely on. No, there are many.
You have a holistic approach.
It is a holistic approach. It's not just a driving school. That is one of the challenges. Yes.
All right. And there's also an issue that came up some time back when it came to, you know, emotional intelligence of drivers. And there was a report, and I can't remember, that said that Kenyan drivers are very angry people. And, you know, you're in traffic and someone tries to overtake you and you shout and, you know, use obscene language and why are you doing this? And there's so much that needs to be handled when it comes to that. And so someone was asking, do you think then that students in this particular curriculum should be trained on emotional intelligence on how to behave with other motorists as well?
Of course, that's some of the things that will need to be taught in school, because you must control your emotions. Because of the traffic jam in this situation, especially in urban cities, there is a lot of competition to give way and a lot of aggression.
You'll find someone who's probably in a private car, it's a bit smaller, and someone in a, you know, a bigger bus, and they're like, wacha nikuoneshe nani atapi.
There's a lot of that aggression, and that is basic courtesy. We must embrace courtesy on our roads. You must give way. It doesn't cost you much if you are to give somebody a chance to move on. So those are some of the things that we are saying. We must change our behavior. This unnecessary aggression does not help. You find people in a roundabout, in a junction, everybody wants to go. At the end of it, you find nobody is moving. So with a little courtesy, you can see the other road is clear. You can stop a little and allow your colleagues or your fellow citizens a chance to move on, because in any case you cannot move because the vehicle ahead of you, the vehicles are not moving. So why don't you give them a chance to proceed? What happens? You block yourself, you block everyone, everybody now it becomes a gridlock.
And Nicholas, you can agree with me that boda operators have been blamed for this, particularly when it comes to other motorists, engaging with other motorists, and sometimes you feel like, you know, you people would say mulikuwa mnaonewa, magari kubwa inawaonea mwezi pita, but also you can say motorcycle taxi operators are also quite rude on the roads, if I might use that word, when it comes to ngoja niwaoneshe nani pia hapa ni mkubwa. You'll find someone is walking, a pedestrian, and you'll pass. And that causes an accident by any chance.
They are not rude, madam, but they are ignorant. Ignorance ndio inaleta shida hizi zote. Wewe unaona tu wacha mimi, unajua yeye anapiga calculation yake, angaliange wale wengine. Na ndio unaona mostly, hata nimekuambia kwamba katika roundabouts mtu akifuata sheria ambayo inatakikana na ngojee kulingana na mataa, hakuna shida kama itatokea. And most accidents ama shida ambazo zinatokea katika roundabout, to be sincere, zinakuwa caused na private cars. Cause ukiangalia hawa like hizi matatu ambazo ni PSVs, unajua wale ni watu ambao wanajaribu kuangalia sana, akigongewa kwa roundabout ama akugongea kwa roundabout, yeye atakuwa na shida upande wake, atalaumiwa sana. Lakini unaona private car anakuambia ati mimi, maneno ya right of way inaleta shida sana. Hataki kujua hata kama ni askari amesimama ameinua mkono amesema ngojeni, anahutia askari na mwambia no, sisi tuko na right ya kuendelea, wewe unatusimamisha kwa nini? Sasa unashangaa hizo stories za who is who in this country inaanza kutokea kwa roundabout just because umeambiwa usubiri kwanza ukaweze kupita. Kile ambacho ningependa kuambia Wakenya wote, tukitaka kusababisha ama kupunguza ajali na kutengeneza barabara zetu zikuwe na heshima, ni heshima ikuwe katika barabara. Kila mtu aheshimu mwenzake. Usione ati mtu ya pikipiki kwa sababu sasa yeye anapita, unaona huyu mtu afai nipite kwa sababu niko na gari. Hapana. Wote tu wana ile yani umuhimu wa kutumia barabara zetu katika nchi yetu ya Kenya kama Wakenya wote.
All right. Yeah. And there was a survey that was done that shows that despite the fact that there's so much campaign with regards to road safety, the number is still rising. So I'll ask you, Francis, you know, you've talked about so many issues as to why this is happening, but remember there's also so much effort concerted in terms of trying to address this particular issue. But where is the missing gap? Where are we lacking, you know?
I think what we need to understand as a country, when you are addressing behavior change, the results are not going to be realized immediately. It is a long journey because people must change their culture, their way of doing things. If you look at countries which have succeeded in road safety, they have taken them even decades, many years of concerted effort without giving up. If you look at HIV and AIDS, it's also a behavioral challenge. We've been on this for so long as a country. We have still not won that battle, but we have started seeing a drop in infections. The same case to road safety. It is a behavioral issue that will require constant and regular reminders over a long period of time. Yes, there are some quick things that can be done, but sustainably, if you want to win the war on road safety, it must be behavior change.
But there's also been concern that some of the decisions made by the government, you know, are more of knee-jerk reactions to some of this. Like, for example, you'll find that accidents are rising, especially during the festive season, and then you'll come up with decisions, night travel ban, and then, you know, that is lifted. Again, that was lifted. I mean, do you think this is a long-term solution? And do you really think about coming up with long-term solutions to addressing these challenges?
The long-term, so to address road safety, you need immediate actions, mid-term and long-term. Long-term must be constant education to build the capacity of people and understanding. But enforcement, issues of enforcement and taking radical decisions, maybe, for instance, night travel. We know, and statistics are clearly showing that the riskiest hours are at night.
Yes.
So we take those interventions to address an immediate concern.
But you'll put a night travel ban, a few days later it's lifted. Does that help us solve this situation?
Well, you might say it's knee-jerk, but it's not knee-jerk. It addresses a concern, especially if you look at the festive period. That's when we have these challenges, because there's a lot of travel. However, when you look at some of the intervention we are making, they have started to yield some fruit, especially with the PSV industry. And I want to give you an example of this Easter festive period. This festive period, the whole of this Easter, there was no single fatal accident involving a PSV. There wasn't even one. So it tells us that some of these interventions that we are putting in place have started bearing fruits. We must not give up. And one accident, when it happens, it erodes everything. No, let us be patient, let us be consistent and persistent in pursuing some of these interventions that we are putting in place.
All right. And you do agree, Nicholas, that some of these interventions that have been put in place in the long term, we're definitely going to see a change. Is that okay? Do you agree with that?
Ni ukweli, unajua vile tunajaribu kuongea na kusema hakuna jambo lolote nzuri ambalo linakuja kwa wakati mmoja. Ni kitu kinachukua muda. Na muda inamaanisha sio miaka hata miezi. Ni wakati ambao utazidi kuburutwa kidogo, lakini watu wazidi kufundishwa na kuelewa kile ambacho wanastahili kufanya.
All right. Francis, maybe talk to us just a little bit about the instant fines policy that we have with the authority. How does it work and what does it set to address?
Yeah, the issue of instant fine is something that we've been pursuing for a while. And it is important to go that direction because sometimes when a motorist is caught up in a traffic situation on the highway, the process of penalizing that motorist is very cumbersome and becomes very difficult to be effective. If you are caught on a traffic offense at, let's say you are going to Nakuru, and somewhere in Naivasha you are stopped for whatever reason, you have violated the traffic rule, then you are told we are giving you a cash bail to come back next week. As a rational human being, the easiest thing to do is what we do because I don't want to come back. You end up bribing your way out.
And that's a big issue as
That's a big issue. So what we are saying is for minor traffic offenses, and we amended the law in 2016 to allow for instant fines for minor traffic offenses. And the offenses have been listed. However, somebody went to court and for 2 years we were not able to make progress. We thank God that now we won the matter in court. And now we are embarking on fully implementing that requirement. So that if I'm caught in a traffic situation and it's a minor traffic offense, I'm told, and it is very clear, this offense attract a fine of XYZ. And you lose this number of points in your driving license. I pay, then proceed. It will save time for the law enforcers and for the courts. What happens is in court sometimes you find a group of motorists are taken to court. They go and plead guilty. They are fined. So if I'm willing to admit that I committed a traffic offense and I pay on the road, it's better for me. It's better for everybody. So I think those are some of the things we are just finalizing on the technology side of view and technical issues. But anytime soon, we should be able to roll out so that we effectively implement that policy.
All right. And with your closing remarks, this is the Road Safety Awareness Week. What are some of the plans that NTSA has put in place to ensure that we move forward?
We have a number of plans. We launched the week yesterday. There will be a number of sensitization programs that will be moving all across the country to educate members of the public on the importance of road safety. With that also we'll be appealing to the members of the public to donate blood. We are working very closely with the National Blood Transfusion Center because majority of the accident victims require blood when they are taken to hospital. So we want to encourage citizens to participate with us, donate blood to support those who are affected. But the most important thing is to raise the levels of awareness on this issue matters road safety.
All right, thank you. And finally, Nicholas, so your closing remarks is what would be your advice to your fellow, because you represent the Boda Association of Kenya, the Boda operators, in terms of adhering to the rules and ensuring that we reduce the number of fatalities on our roads.
Jambo la mwisho ningependa kuwashukuru watu wa NTV kutupatia nafasi hii ili tukaweza kuongea na wale ambao tuna represent kama riders katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kitu ambacho ningependa kuambia riders hapo nje ni kwamba tukaweza kufuata sheria. Zaidi ya yote tukaweza kuwa na driving licenses, tukuwe na insurance, pikipiki ambayo inastahili, imeenda inspection, yani kitu ambacho hata mwenyewe ukifanya kazi yako uone kwamba ni kitu ambacho kitakuruhusu kusimama hata mbele ya watu kusema kwamba nafanya hii kazi. Zaidi ya yote wale ambao wanatumia barabara kama wale watu wa kutembea kwa miguu pia wafuate sheria za barabara. Hizi sheria sio za wale kuendesha peke yake. Kila mtu afuate sheria na nchi yetu tutasonga mbele katika njia inayostahili na tutakuwa ni watu wa kulaumiana kila wakati.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicholas Lusasi, the National Welfare Coordinator at the Boda Association of Kenya. Also, Francis Meja, the Director General of the National Transport and Safety Authority, with a conversation surrounding road safety. And it has been agreed that it is a collective responsibility, even as police officers ensure that the laws are being enforced. We must remind all travelers, and ourselves included, is the fact that we should put safety first and be mindful of other road users as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in this morning. And now hand over the baton to my colleague, Husha Jose, who will be giving us the entertainment brief.